Today's morning inspirACTION is going to be interviewed for the first time. Actually, the first time ever that I'm being interviewed about myself. I used to do interviews all the time in my last job as a lobbyist, but I was always talking about a political cause. So today I'm being interviewed about me, which is going to be interesting. So I'll maybe show you a bit from the interview and talk to you afterwards. Mission accomplished. I survived the interview and I'm still alive, yes. And the whole experience gave me some ideas about some unusual being interviewed tips that can help you if you're going to do an interview, you know, whether it's a job interview or someone wants to talk to you about you or your business, because they're things that I use today that really help me, and I know they help me give some good answers and to look confident and to feel confident in the interview, which is what my interviewer actually noticed about me. So the 3 unusual tips for being interviewed. The first one is, if you're feeling really nervous before, ask yourself, am I actually nervous or am I excited? This is something I heard once in a class by Access Consciousness, and I'd never heard that before, that physiologically in the body, nervousness and excitement have the same reaction. So you'll physically feel stuff in your body, which usually we think is being nervous, you know, like that kind of on edge feeling, and your heart's going a bit fast and you're not quite comfortable. That's actually also a sign of being excited. And the thing that's useful about that is when you realize that you're actually just excited, you're not nervous, it becomes an energy which is more generative. It's like it kind of amps up your fire, you know, like the fire in your belly. Whereas if you think you're nervous, your mind starts to tell you, oh, you're nervous. That's because you're scared, because you might mess it up. And it's like the way you look at it really plays an important role. So I noticed for myself today that as I was walking there, I was walking really fast and I was feeling a bit like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. And I suddenly realized, Sandy, am I nervous or am I just excited? And I realized I was excited. So I switched my focus and suddenly I was like, yeah, bring it on. This is going to be fun. And when I sat down with my interviewer, Beverly Holt, here in Nice in France, I felt like I was talking to a friend. I didn't feel nervous. Okay, so the second unusual tip for being interviewed is to not think too much. Yes, I did say that. Not to think too much, you know, like sometimes the tendency is to really prepare. And I'm not saying, you know, if you've got a job interview, I would actually recommend being prepared, like having all your information, thinking about what questions people are going to ask you and brainstorming ideas about what you'd say. I've always done that for job interviews and for in professional situations. I used to talk to journalists and politicians all the time, and I would always have my facts. But the difference is I wouldn't restrict myself to that. I'd have it, but when it came to actually answering, I would kind of, it's hard to describe, but the best way I can explain it to you is to have a clear mind. Is like, before you go in, just not to be going through everything you're going to say. Because I found when I do that, then I tend to not really be present in the actual moment, and my answer doesn't always connect to what the interviewer was asking me. So it's a bit like you've got a script, and maybe that's not actually the right script, but if you're only, you know, if you're limiting yourself to your script, you might find that you actually can't say what's needed in the actual interview. Does that make sense? So, and I remember once I did a speaking event and I'd been really busy. I had no time to prepare, and I went there with a colleague and she'd prepared big time. Like, she'd actually almost memorized a speech, and it was so interesting because when we came to speak, before I was thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't prepare. I'm really going to look so stupid here, and I was really feeling bad about myself. And when we came to speak, my friend, my colleague, she gave out her information, but you could tell she was kind of reading a bit. It didn't sound spontaneous, and the people responded, and she gave amazing information. She had an amazing CV and all of that, but I could sense she didn't actually really connect to the audience because she was so kind of in her script. And when I came to speak, I had no script. I was flying by the seat of my pants. But I managed to, I made some jokes, I was just myself, and I spoke about my personal experience, and the energy completely changed. Like, the room came alive. I could see people were listening to what I was saying, and at the end I got a huge applause, and it blew me away. It really boosted my confidence, because I saw in that moment that you don't have to be super prepared with all your facts to actually make a good impression and to actually have an impact on people. You can speak from your heart, and that's going to be sometimes what people need. So that's my advice, is when you're being interviewed, be prepared, but don't overthink it. Just before you go in, don't be thinking about anything. Just focus on your breathing and just relax. Okay, I know that's easier sometimes than it sounds, but the more you do it, the more you'll get better at that. Okay. And the third unusual tip for being interviewed is to ask a question. Again, this comes from Access, and the question I asked today was, what can I say in this interview that is what's required? What can I say that will expand my life and my business now and in the future? And I talked to the universe in my head. I was saying, universe, what do I need to say in this interview? What do people need to hear? What do I have to say today? And then I didn't think about it. I didn't, like I just said, I didn't start thinking about what I could say or the answers. I just asked the questions. And then when I came to the actual interview, it just kind of flowed out of me. And I know that's because I kind of connected a bit to, you could call it, some people call it the universe, some people call it the is, some people call it like infinite intelligence. It's like you open up and you can become a sort of like a channel for information to come through, as opposed to only thinking about it from your tiny little brain. Okay, so those are my unusual tips for being interviewed. When I have the interview back, I will post it in the description so you can check it out if you want to. And that's my advice for you today. And if you've been asked to be interviewed, or you're going to be interviewed, just know that you're probably going to be way better in the interview than you think you are. Okay, I know that. I'm so sure of that. Right, so if you want to see what I'm doing with Money inspirACTION, click on the link below this video or join the Facebook group, and I will see you for tomorrow's episode. Bye.